How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Silent Night from 2012. This is the remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night. Silent Night, Deadly Night is a slasher classic. So anyway, before we get into all this, thank you guys for watching so much of these Christmas reviews. I've been doing Christmas movies all December long. And even though technically Christmas is past, we're in that weird period between Christmas and New Year's that people just kind of basically recover from Christmas. I had 2 more spots free, and I'd figure I'd cover 2 more movies before we get back into January and start resuming a normal schedule of just random things that I wanted to talk about with no theme or direction, just randomly reviewing stuff. But anyway, thank you guys for watching all these Christmas stuff. Let's just jump right in. Silent Night, No Deadly Night, from 2012, directed by Stephen C. Miller, starring Malcolm McDowell, Jaime King, Donald Luge, Ellen Wong, and Brendan Farr. But anyway, as you may notice from those names, Malcolm McDowell and Jaime King, kind of a history with holiday horror remakes here. Malcolm McDowell quite famously took over the role of Sam Loomis from Donald Pleasance in Rob Zombie's Halloween remake. Jaime King was also, I believe, in the remakes of My Bloody Valentine and Mother's Day. So these actors are, for some reason, doing a lot of not just horror movie remakes, but holiday horror movie remakes. So I guess it makes sense that the both of them would team up for the Silent Night, Deadly Night remake. This is a loose remake, and to be honest, I quite generally prefer when a remake is looser and does its own thing as opposed to just being a not as good, boring copy of the original. So when I heard that it was a loose remake, it takes place more from the cop's point of view, and then I saw the trailer, I was actually pretty excited for this. I thought, this actually doesn't look too bad, this could be good. So I hadn't seen it before, and I quite eagerly popped it in to watch it this Christmas. And was it good? Well, let's go ahead and get into that. This movie shows you what it's going to be pretty early on with its opening scene. You get a guy, he's in a chair wrapped in Christmas lights. Your killer Santa comes in and he pushes some sort of override button, turning the Christmas lights wrapped on this chair into an electric chair and burning the guy to death. It's not just enough electricity to shock him, not just enough to kill him, but enough to burn him as he's dying, which I'm like, that is severely implausible. You know, if you wrap Christmas lights around this guy and somehow got it to shock him, it probably wouldn't kill him, and if it did, it probably wouldn't start to melt his flesh. You could make a device like this, but you'd have to really work to make it, and at this point, you're just making an electric chair and soldering on Christmas lights. Like, shows you right off the bat, this is going to be an over-the-top and comical, well, not necessarily trying to be comical, but an over-the-top comical and kind of dumb movie. So it does set the tone in the first stage. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about the plot. I won't do any major spoilers, but I want to talk about a few things, and I want you guys to have a general understanding about what this movie's about. So, no major spoilers, but let's just jump in to more of the plot. You get, the guy that was electrocuted was actually a cop who was supposed to take the Christmas Eve shift of your main character, Jaime King. He's electrocuted, so he can't do it, but the cops just simply don't know where he is. She comes into work when she's not supposed to, and eventually throughout town, things start to go awry. It's the annual Santa festival in this small town. The town's kind of dying, so they really need this Santa festival. And you get a few things like one of the Santas being, Scrooge, essentially, talking to kids about, how Christmas has been ruined and how it puts stress on people. I think this is actually the same guy that plays Harvey Bullock in Gotham, so it's always cool to see more from the Gotham cast there. A fun, over-the-top character there. But as things go on, certain people start to get killed or more people are missing, and they start to investigate what's going on in this town. And at first they think, okay, these killings are probably individual and isolated and have something to do with the people around them, nothing big. But as they investigate farther, they realize they're all connected and it's all tied to a mysterious killer in a Santa suit. And like I said, that leaves plenty of suspects, but also plenty of places for this killer to disappear and blend into. It is a pretty cool and original idea. Well, kind of original. So that is one of the bigger strengths of this movie, and they're working through trying to figure out which suspect could do this. Is it Harvey Bullock from Gotham? Is it one of the other Santas? Is it someone? Who is it? So you do get to look through a lot of people, and Santa is pretty cool in this movie. He's not as well developed as the original Billy. He's kind of got the Jason attitude of being silent and then bringing on these cool, angry kills, and he's got a clear mask with the beard tied to it. Think old man Santa Claus version of the Alice, Sweet Alice mask. So it is pretty cool. Let's just, I guess, move on to the pros, because there's not a lot of, plot I can talk about without getting farther into spoilers, because it really is just a, solve the mystery with a few kills here and there. But anyway, the pros, you get a good cast, especially when a lot of them are asked to be, some wacky characters. Your main girl, Jaime King, is kind of toned down, which you really do need when so many people are being wacky. Not a revolutionary performance, but it's an easy character to follow and get behind, and a good character to follow through the movie keeps you in it. Malcolm McDowell, obviously the most memorable part of this movie. He plays a wacky, over-the-top, gruff, trying to get this job done sheriff, Like at one point, the main character points out he's misspelled a suspect's name. There needs to be a second S, a double S, and Malcolm McDowell goes, double S? Well, he's double screwed. And I'm like, okay, that's a wacky line. But he's like, to the point where he's glad that the one road that leads in and out of town is shut down, because he's like, there'll be no FBI to stand in my way. I can do whatever I want. I can solve the case myself and catch the killer. So he's really fun to watch in this movie. And you do get some other, like I said, the guy from, I'm pretty sure it's Harvey Bullock from Gotham. Watch me be wrong, and then people leave it in the comments. I think it is Harvey Bullock from Gotham, and a few other characters are pretty good. But we'll get more to the other side of the characters. But anyway, the kills are also good and over the top. I mentioned the Christmas lights. Lots of really fun, bloody kills. Most famously, there's a scene with a model where she's doing a photo shoot. Santa barges in, kills the two people running it, and she initially gets out and leads them on this big long chase that even goes through a nearby Christmas tree lot. Very fun, some cool elements that happen, and a really good finale that I don't want to spoil, although you can kind of see it coming towards the end. And there is some fun Easter eggs. During this chase scene, Santa grabs a clear shower curtain and tries to strangle her. A very reminiscent shot of the plastic bag from Black Christmas. There is also a character taking out the garbage, and he goes, "What is this, garbage day?" So there is some fun Easter eggs, and when Easter eggs are done right, I feel like it's the people who are making the movie kind of secretly telling the fans, hey, we care, we understand this stuff. And when they're doing things like the kills, you can tell that they're putting a ton of effort into it and trying to have these fun, bloody, wacky, over-the-top kills. And, you can tell they're really trying, and I do commend the effort. But that being said, there's a ton of flaws in this movie, and I guess we'll get into those. First, like I said, I'd rather a remake do more its own thing than be a bad copy of the original. And when this movie does do stuff from the original, it's really just a not as good version of the original. You know, like Billy doesn't have near the motivation. You don't understand why he's doing this. He is still punishing, but I guess that's where we get into the other characters. The characters in this one being so wacky and over the top, and in a lot of cases way too far wacky and over the top. But when Billy's punishing them, in the first one you got that these characters, for the most part, didn't really deserve what Billy was dishing out. And you got to see that, you know, Billy's doing this because of his broken psyche. Now, in the remake, you know, while, yes, you probably shouldn't kill all these people, a lot of these characters are, you know, things like drug dealers or someone who steals money from a church, you know, huge creeps, you know, not necessarily deserving death, but not good people. And you almost see Billy, who isn't Billy, as almost like an Avenger character, a vigilante. You know, he shouldn't be doing this, but when you make the people in the town so sleazy and evil, it doesn't make Billy look as bad, and that is a big problem. So Billy and his psychology are off. They adapt two scenes from the original not Black Christmas, from the original Silent Night, Deadly Night, and they're not great. They adapt the mute grandpa scene, but in the first one, that was to give Billy a motivation, and it was this out of nowhere creepy moment, but it made sense within the story as part of the introduction. In the remake, it happens somewhere in the middle to a character that's not important at all. It's literally this guy, he shows up I think maybe one more time and gets killed pretty quick. It's a character that has nothing to do with anything, and it has nothing to do with the plot. It just, if it wasn't in the original, it wouldn't have happened here. And it just comes out of nowhere, and the mute grandpa talks to someone who doesn't matter, and this scene just doesn't have anything to do with anything, you know? And the original is like a classic, one of my favorite slasher movie scenes, but the mute grandpa scene in this is just out of nowhere and for no reason. And then the Linnea Quigley death scene from the original with the antlers, also in this, but far less impressive. And it's hard to pinpoint exactly why the antlers are smaller and not as high and the effects not as good. But I think if you're a film student, you should probably watch the original Linnea Quigley death scene with the remake of this scene, because it's not like they do anything off the top super wrong, but the remake is clearly less impressive, and you could probably get a good film education analyzing it and trying to figure out why the remake's not as good. And then on top of all this, the mystery turns out to be not much. They reveal the mystery at the end, and I'm left going, okay, I guess. You know, and then like they show the killer, I'm like, who is that guy again? You know, so it's not a great big revolution, and when you build up so much of your plot to be a mystery, there really should be a punch there, but it feels kind of like, oh yeah, gotta resolve that mystery we set up. And I mean, there is something that ties into other things, and you're like, okay, that makes sense. But it also does create a continuity problem, because when it shows the solution to the mystery, then you remember the main character, and there's a big lapse in continuity where the main character is talking to someone in a bar, and she doesn't remember, and in fact doesn't believe this certain story, but then she's talking to her father much earlier in the film, and the father literally brings up the same thing, and she's like, oh yeah, like I know that. It's like, wait, either she knows this story or she doesn't. Why, when she's in the bar, she doesn't, and when she's with her father, she does? That's just a big lapse there. Lower budget movies tend to have things like that, continuity problems and low budget logic, which I brought up a few times on this channel before. low budget logic think the Christmas lights electrocution, but this movie does this thing, and it's just a minor gripe, but it really does bug me. The Billy, again, not really Billy, breaks off door handles, and when he breaks off a door handle, it causes the door to be locked from each side, when in reality it should have little effect on the other side, and if you break the handle, it should be more likely to come apart and cause the door to just swing open. And even if the handle's busted, you can probably, with a little effort, get through it if you're on the broken handle side. They did this once and it bugged me. I was going to ignore it. But then they do it twice where Billy just breaks the door handle and it's locked on both sides. I'm like, that's not how doors worked. I put a few handles and doors in my life, and that's not how door handles work. You can't just smash... Usually in Hollywood you smash the handle to unlock it. But here, you break a door handle and it's locked. But the biggest thing, and maybe I should have mentioned this earlier, the biggest thing when it comes to flaws, bad color grading. I really don't like bad color grading. It's one of the reasons I prefer the producer's cut of Halloween 6. The colors in this movie are so blown out, washed out, there's no crispness, and it makes the movie kind of hard to watch. Before I watched this movie, I looked up the trailer and some clips on YouTube, and I thought, wow, whoever put these on YouTube messed up the clips. Why do they look so bad? But I put in the DVD, and they're supposed to look like that. It wasn't YouTube's fault, and it wasn't the uploaders. It was supposed to look like that, and I really hate the color grading in this film. And if they re-released it without it, I would buy it in a heartbeat. It would make it so much easier to watch. I hate bad color grading. But anyway... I maybe ranted on this a little too long. It's not a great movie, but it's not a terrible movie either. If you have, say, a group of friends and you like to watch bad B-slasher movies, then this is a good candidate. There's plenty of dumb and over-the-top stuff. It's not great, not painful to watch, not terrible. It's a dumb B-slasher, and, you know, when you have the original Silent Night, Deadly Night being one of the best slashers, a really good classic slasher, and then you say, oh, this is the remake, that really, you know, hurts it. But if you just want a dumb B-slasher, know that the remake's not as good as the original. Know that the original's really, really good, but if you just want to watch some dumb slasher, it's there. You can watch it, especially if you have a good group of friends and you like to make fun of stuff like this. This is a good candidate for that. So, not great, not too bad, B-slasher movie. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, not just this video, but all Christmas long. Going to move into January pretty soon. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you as well. You're really helping the channel out. I'll put the Christmas playlist on the bottom if you guys want to go and watch any of my other Christmas videos. But anyway, Happy New Year. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Have a good day, and again, a Christmas playlist on the bottom. See you guys again soon.